quantity of attendance. With many people lining the rows, we saw that as they were leaving, they seemed relatively indifferent about what we just talked about. Many of them almost seemed there just because the parents forced them to be there.
What's more is that in our feedback forms, we found that a lot of members were actually lacking engagement with our talks. This is because many audience members were actually leaving the auditorium more confused than they had been when they had first entered. This had only decreased accessibility to our topics. There was a problem, and so we had to go back to our drawing board and brainstorm and analyze and discuss.
That talk was so great. We got so much participation, and our keynote speakers were on point.
Nah, man, look at the crowd. Sure, the parents are focusing, but look at the kids. That one over there is playing Clash Royale on his phone right now. And that one over there, well, he's just asleep.
What do we do?
After what seemed like eons of brainstorming, talking, and going through 11 stacks of paper, we finally realized the solution that we wanted to focus on.
We realized that the average listener in our audience was a local middle or high school who had little to no knowledge about the topic. But our approach had thrown them down a pit of the most advanced topics we could find without even considering their background. So this only raised the barrier of entry to their fields of interest because there is no obvious or actionable way for them to start their journey.
What's worse is that in our forms, we realized that teenagers were leaving with a superficial understanding of these topics. They had no way to delve deeper and truly understand what it was that we were talking about. In essence, we had only complicated the problems we had initially set out to fix. They had no idea what they should pursue afterwards because they were confused. So we had to come up with a new solution that operated in three main parts.
First, we aim to diversify our topics to a wider variety of fields in the technology field. This way, we could increase our audience's ability to understand that passions do not have to be separate. You don't need to compromise one of your passions to pursue another. And sometimes, the best way to feel the most fulfilled is by pursuing the intersection of multiple passions. For example, we held talks about art generation with AI as well as game design.
Second, we not only centered presentations around industry professionals, but we also created a platform and presentation time for local middle and high schoolers to present their projects that they were working on in the field. This served both as a different perspective of the topic and also as a way to show the audience how they themselves could get involved.
Third, we realized that students didn't know where to go after these talks. And so, we worked on creating our online homepage, which included information like recorded versions of our talks, a synopsis of the talk's content, and contact information for the keynote speakers.
Even with all these improvements, we still have a long way to go. It's not a perfect solution, and it really never will be, because there's no such thing as a perfect solution.
But we think that's the beauty in it. Since there never is any perfect solution, that means that there's constantly room for us to grow and adapt to an ever-changing world and audience.
One improvement that we're currently working on is bringing our organization to a global stage. We've actually had people from all over the world come to our talks recently, from places like Kenya to Korea and to Greece.
Because we've had people simultaneously come from all over the world to see our talks, we couldn't be happier that our message is now reaching all different kinds of people.
And our message is not just limited to the tech field. We realize that closed-minded people exist in every field, and we hope to open their minds via our seminars and talks.
And that's where you come in. Don't be the closed-minded person who shuts down ideas just because they're new. Be the open-minded person who elevates new ideas and starts conversations that shape the next generation. For example, here's Justin, a gun high schooler whose friends elevate his passion for music.
Wow, I surely do love playing the guitar. And I also love computer science. I wonder if there's any way that I can combine both of these interests.
That sounds like a really good idea. You should ask Juno. I've heard he's done stuff with this before.
Okay. Hey, Juno, do you have any ideas on how I can get started?
Well, I know that Spotify has a bunch of data about the music that they release, so maybe you could combine that with your guitar playing and create something new.
That's a great idea. Let me think. What if I made an app that recommended new music for me to learn on the guitar based on my skill level and past music that I've already learned?
That sounds really cool. We should get started on it.
Silicon Valley teenagers aspire to be successful tightrope walkers, following a life that's been laid out for them from the moment that they enter high school to the moment they retire.
But we realize that that can be often comforting, as there's only one line for you to follow, and you always know what's behind you and ahead of you.
But these tightrope walkers are missing an essential link. Once they reach that other side of the line, they reflect on all of the missed passion projects and abandoned opportunities they had lost along the way. In a moment of clarity, they realize that life is not about following that established line well, but rather about forging your own path.
They also realize that the role models that they based their whole lives on following that tightrope were not, in fact, tightrope walkers. They were trailblazers. This means that they were eccentrically passionate and shamelessly authentic and pursued whatever they wanted, no matter what other people thought. Now, this is the exact opposite of tightrope walking.
At SVTTT, we stress the importance of being a trailblazer. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Understand all of the resources that you have at your disposal and generally through the internet. Stop walking that tightrope, look around you, and become the person that inspires the next generation.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.